let me welcome Chef and the audience to a thought-provoking conversation which traces the journeys of chefs who have redefined culinary excellence. Through this series, we aim to inspire students to channel their passion for culinary arts while examining the profound role food plays in shaping the global perceptions and strengthening India's soft power, that is food. And food, guys, isn't just about filling our stomachs. It is about storytelling, culture, and creativity. Whether it's the nostalgia of homemade dal chawal or the excitement of experimenting with global flavors, food plays an unforgettable role in our lives. If you've ever watched MasterChef India, you know that cooking is more than just a skill. It is an art that demands precision, innovation, and passion. And today we have with us someone who embodies all of these qualities. Chef Koushik, the Culinary Operations Officer at Eatitude. From crafting flavors to managing large scale culinary operations, his journey is a masterclass in blending passion with strategy. And let us dive into his experiences and discover what it truly takes to cook up success in the food industry. Once again, Chef Kaushik, welcome to I.I.M.U.N's Recipes for Success series. We're so glad to have you, and thank you so much for doing this.
Hi, everybody.
I think the audience is already very pumped up and excited. And, I would like to start by asking this one basic question. You started cooking when you were five. Chef,
Yep.
when we were 5 years old, I think it would have been very difficult for us to hold a spoon correctly. So you would have cooking in your blood, but we want to understand what sparked this such an early love for, food and the culinary art, and how has your journey been like since say when you were 5 years old to now?
Basically, I started cooking because of necessity. Mom was not at home. I was reading a comic called Asterix in Spain, where these guys were making cheese fondue, and it looked awesome. So I just had to make it. So asked my grandmom to help me set the stove on fire, put a pan in, threw some cheese, some butter, some milk, and guess what? It turned out fine. So my grandmom couldn't say cheese fondue. She used to call it Desh Pandey. That's the best she got. So Desh Pandey was made at home quite often, and my mom, dad liked it. People in general liked it. So from then, I just started doing something that I was good at. And over time, I realized I had kind of math dyslexia, science dyslexia. I didn't understand a lot of the concepts. So flavors talk to me, and I've been really lucky that I've been enjoying my life doing what I really like, and what I studied in college is what I'm doing. So still having fun.
Beautiful. I mean, this is such a fun story. Sometimes, it is rightly said that the greatest of success comes from something that you would expect the least. A very tiny incident, like how you said about the cheese fondue in Desh Pandey. I think whenever we are eating cheese fondue now, the first thing that comes to our mind is going to be Desh Pandey. Right. And currently, like I said, you've built a project that is Eatitude, and it has helped over 312 brands and around 150 outlets. But what is the toughest challenge that you faced when you were coming up with such an innovative idea? Because something like Attitude was not known before you started it. So what was that journey like? And how did you turn this passion into something that will be scalable, and now that it has been doing so well?
Basically, I started off my career as a chef, cooking food, putting things together, and stuff like that. And somewhere down the line, I was given an opportunity to work with some of the greats in the industry, large number of outlets. My last job was with the Ambanis, setting up 150 outlets all over India, and which had to open on one day. So a lot of exposure to business insights, menu, manpower, economics, the profit and loss, all of these together. Then I realized that entrepreneurs who are getting into F&B for so long have had a very drastic statistic, which is 9 out of 10 people fail within the first year. And out of the 1% of the crowd that's actually in the business, 50% fail within the first year. So that's barely like 0.5% of the total market is still in the business after 5 years. So I wanted to change that. And so we started putting systems, procedures, knowledge into place. And that's where we've been consulting, helping young entrepreneurs kind of build up the way that they're going about the business and stuff like that. Because a lot of people get into food and beverage thinking that it's very easy. Arey yaar, kya hai? Pani puri ka dukaan hai, how difficult can it be? You can make millions or you can burn millions in the food industry. So it's been a journey of education, of teaching people what not to do or teaching people what to do. A lot of science goes into this, and that's how we've been doing this.
Very nicely said, sir. And when you say that it's a wild journey, it comes with a lot of experiments and experiences at the same time. And when I talk of experiments, I think you will embody the term very well because be it the paneer tikka pizza that you came up with, or the white chocolate spaghetti, all of your ideas are so out of the box. But then when it comes to balancing that innovation but also keeping the tradition and the roots of the culture intact. How do you do that? How do you manage to bring that balance between innovation and tradition?
Uh, not by perfection or not because of design each and every time. Trust me, what you're seeing are the successes. There have been innumerous failures. There have been a lot of things that have bombed. I didn't make the Fanta Maggie, somebody else did. But the idea is to put a whole bunch of flavors together which actually work on something called the flavor wheel. There's a scientific wheel which has flavors classified based on colors and flavors. For instance, if I would ask you, would you put rose water and onion together?
I've never heard of that combination.
Lucknowi biryani. Rose water, attar, deep fried onions.
Oh,
You
yes.
can't unsee that now, can you? So exactly. So now the rose and the onion are actually very similar families. I mean, if you see the way the rose opens up in the onion, and they actually have flavors that complement it. The only secret here is that you deep fry the onions. Once they're fried, sauteed, it works beautifully. So that is what I've learned over the last so many years of being a chef as to what put together works in the mind of the customer, what will not work.
So again, like you said, it is always trial and error, and you need to come up with something that works for everyone or the majority. And when I talk of majority chef, the majority of people watching us live today is the Gen Z. We like to call ourselves Gen Z. And studies show that 70% of this Gen Z is looking towards thoughtful choices in career, and they are okay to let go of career options if they are not sustainable in some way or the other, right? And when you talk of the culinary industry, it may get a little challenging to manage sustainability. But what's your take on sustainability in the culinary industry? Can the culinary industry be completely sustainable, or will there always be, say, some leftovers?
It's actually a very sustainable industry. I mean, to be very honest with you, normally if you're going to be cutting, like say, 100 kg of onions in the star hotels, 20% of it is onion peels, which goes into stock, or it goes into making onion powder. So imagine you have to cut 100 kgs of onions at what it costs today and waste 20% on a daily basis over 365 days a year. It's not going to make economic sense. So sustainability is not just from a point of view of the environment, it's also not cost effective. So we as chefs are taught to be very sustainable right at the beginning of our careers. So we tend to make a lot of dishes, a lot of items that can make it sustainable and hence scalable, make it something that works. So it's where you have the fads, where you have a lot of places that come up without any thought process behind what the system is where it's not sustainable. But today, if you're looking at some of the biggest, best restaurants, chefs are sustainability champions.
Absolutely. And you so rightly pointed out that sustainability has multiple definitions. Sustainability also means, ensuring that something lasts for longer. So I'd like to ask you this one question. A lot of the Gen Z people or the crowd that you're seeing here, they are passionate about the culinary industry, but they're not really sure if they can make or, build a sustainable career out of it. So what is your advice to those people who are passionate about food and are looking forward to make a career, a successful career out of it?
The first thing that I'm going to tell everybody who looks at culinary as a career, it is not glamorous. It's not what you guys see on TV. It's not what you're exposed to as an industry. It is physical work. It's hard work. It does not work for everybody. So if anybody is even thinking of getting into this as a field, first spend time, stage what we call as staging is you spend a couple of weeks to a month at some restaurant doing menial tasks, work, helping with the chefs and stuff. That is not necessarily for money, but it is so you get experience to see what the kitchen looks like from the inside. Now, as a chef who's been at it for the last almost 30 years, the kitchen is a very, very calm, cool, relaxed place for me. But for a person who walks into it for the first time, it is hot. It's at about 30, 32 degrees plus. There are fires everywhere. There are sharp knives everywhere. Everybody is screaming to be heard over the noise. So for the first time when someone walks in, it's like a war zone. Okay, but after you spend time in it, when you can find absolute calm in the chaos, you can find to like it, then this works for you. Okay,
I completely.
only then does it make sense for you to get into this as an industry, not before. One, two, there are a lot of young people I meet who want to be entrepreneurs in the food and beverage. So there it makes sense. But if you're going to be an entrepreneur in the food and beverage, are you going to be in the kitchen cooking? Are you going to be out serving? Are you going to be gathering capital and setting up business and doing that? So this is quite a vast industry. You could do pretty much anything. Now, you can choose to be a sommelier. Now, imagine someone who says, I don't want to drink wine, but I want to be a sommelier. Not working. So you'll have to learn to appreciate. You have to have a tongue for the wine. You should be able to taste. You should be able to see the nuances. So each of it, try it out for a couple of weeks, a month. If it starts singing to you, if it's going to make sense to you, take the next step.
So you need to figure out what you truly said, that all of us need to figure out where we belong, that this industry is very wide. And you talked of entrepreneurship. You yourself are an entrepreneur, so you've built Eatitude from the scratch. And the motto of Eatitude is save time and save money. So when you look at these entrepreneurs who are entering the field of culinary, what are a few rookie mistakes that you see them making? And if you could correct them right now, how would you do it?
One of the first things I tell you is business is not done on a computer or a piece of paper with projections. That's not how business is done. You need to start seeing real world. So that pinch of salt that you're putting into it is to know that is this working or not working? Do you really know what you're doing? Okay, it's very, very easy to sit down, take an Excel projection sheet based on assumptions, and make $1 million in like a few days. But real life is not exactly the same. There's so many challenges that come. So the idea is that when you're getting into entrepreneurship, try to understand the whole gambit of things. If you don't, spend some time doing this at somebody else's place. Learn from other people's mistakes rather than actually putting your whole heart, soul, hard-earned money, saved money, dad's money, whatever, into it. First, get into somebody else's place. See if you can ratify and all those projections that you are making, is it real? One. Two, it is very easy in today's generation to have a lot of hubris, ego, assuming that what I'm doing is right. The real world doesn't work that way. You have to understand, though you may be the best of what you are, does what you do work the way it is supposed to work in real world? So check, do that. Do a check and balance and constantly look over your back as to what you're doing. Are you doing the right thing? And if you're getting into business, the only way to make a business successful is the numbers crunch. Okay, so I'm going to say something that's going to be very contradictory. So if you want to get into business, you have to be passionate about it. But if you want to make money, you have to be dispassionate and calculated. Okay, so you get where this goes. So first, be very passionate when you're conceptualizing the business, but be very clinical if you want to make it successful. You have to wear both hats. You have to be a finance person. You have to be a marketing person. You also have to be the operation person. You have to be just about everything if you're going to be in a business. And at the end of all this, if you make money, you make a salary. Otherwise, you don't.
Understood. Very true. And actually, when you talk of money, by 2030, the global food industry is projected to become a $189 billion industry, right? And with all of this, and given your expertise in this field, what are some futuristic trends that you are projecting would come in the food industry? Are we going to see more of lab-grown meat, or say completely artificially intelligent kitchens? What is it that you think is going to happen in this industry?
All of this is going to be part of it. Now, let's just understand, we have this fear for genetically modified, man-made, lab-made. So that is constantly going to be there. Okay, I mean, given a choice, if I were to tell you that broccoli is man-made and it is not natural, will you stop eating broccoli? Yeah, but at the same time, there are so many people who get scared when you put out a statement like this. The moment that something is artificial, it's not good for you. Okay, so, and food business runs and can get destroyed by myths. For instance, there's this myth about MSG being extremely bad for you. So immediately it starts hitting people who use MSG in a large quantum across the whole business. So these kind of things happen on a regular basis. So your business should be able to withstand this. You've got to be on top of the trends. Yes, there is going to be a phenomenal amount of money to be made, but please understand, if the whole world is going to eat minimum 3 times in a day, and most of it is not going to be made from their respective kitchens, it's going to be made outside home. There's that much money to be made. 1.89 billion is nothing. It's only going to be more than that. But how do you do this? Today we have labor issues. We have, there's no original idea per se. Today everybody's copying something. It's there. We're going on one side, we're going the premium market, where it's going into micro cuisines. It's going into healthy. It's going to millet. It's going to all that. So there's a niche there. There's another niche which wants only junk. They want hardcore midnight craving stuff that they can eat. Momos are going to continuously work despite no matter what you say. Momos are going to work. Kati rolls are going to work. Burgers are going to work. There are also going to be people who want to eat healthy, single origin foods with microgreens and sea salt, all of those healthy ingredients. There are people who are going to want to be vegan, and they're going to be hardcore non-vegetarians. So this is such a huge industry. You could go anywhere and still be successful, as long as you've got your head straight in this.
Absolutely. And when you talk of taking food globally, I think India as a country, I also mentioned in the beginning of the live that food has been a soft power for India for the longest time. And when I talk of global outlook at IIMUN, we believe that we should always have a global outlook and but remain Indian at heart. And in our roots, we should always remember our culture. So, with that being in mind and with that being said, how do you see the Indian cuisine, evolving at the global stage? And, what other local flavors can students, champion to make it big internationally?
Internationally, Indian food is way more popular and way more romanticized and way more sought out than it is in India. Primarily because, we don't know that moringa leaves used to grow in our respective backyards a few years ago, until somebody in the West starts selling moringa leaves at 15,000 rupees a kg as a super supplement. Okay, it used to be a shrub grown in everybody's house. It was consumed around the 25th, towards the end of the month when you ran out of groceries. It would be there in anything and everything. Okay, but today you need to be told to have moringa leaf capsules. So like that, we have a lot of science, a lot of good health reasons that Indian cuisine is being promoted worldwide. We have a lot of lacto fermentation, no gluten recipes by default. Healthy food to start with. And Indian restaurants in the UK are the only restaurants that grow 30% every year, which means last year's sales put together, this year is 30% more. But there is a certain stylization where the West does not necessarily like to eat dal chawal, but they would love to eat dal chawal arancini. So you need to start figuring out how to make the consumer eat and create a beautiful story around how the spices, like for instance, you're going to see today, if you open your gram, you're all going to see ginger, turmeric, and pepper shots all over the places. Okay,
Absolutely.
so that being the case, but this is stuff we consume as children on a regular basis. I mean, you had turmeric growing at home, things worked, all this is fine. So all this is basically what you need to see where that goes.
Absolutely. And I want to talk about you as well, sir. You have earned the nickname of the Mad Chef. Given your Madras roots and also the mad food skills that you have, what is the wildest dish we have been through your Instagram? It is crazy. So, what is the wildest dish according to you that you've created, and what is the story behind it? How did it come into being?
Something that I did like about 20 years ago, which was at that time quite the rave, was a rose, peppermint, and coffee beverage called Waikiki, which was named after the Hawaiian Islands, basically because rose, peppermint, and coffee are a beautiful combination. But 20 years ago, it was shocking. People who had it liked it, loved it. People who could not have it hated it. So it was the Fanta Maggie of those times. But yeah, I'm constantly pushing myself and trying to not necessarily shock my consumer and the restaurants and the food that we're making, but to push envelopes. Basically, because I mean, what's the point of someone of my cadre coming in and doing the basic stuff? But at the same time, today, over the last 10 years, I've been exploring Indian cuisine, going back to the history, the origins, and every day is a learning experience. I mean, just every day I'm learning so much more about what we've done as a culture, where we have Indian cuisine, what we have done, that I'm becoming very, 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 very patriotic, and I'm totally getting very obsessed with India and where we were, where we started. So we've been guys who discovered plastic surgery in like 388 BC. So we have documents of way we have done calculations of food. For instance, the word cuisine comes from Tamil Nadu, cuisine arai, not from French. Okay, so we had documents where we wrote accounts of what an army in the Mahabharata ate. And hence we have details of what they ate, how it made, what recipes. I mean, just imagine accounts of wars, of the how much of rice went in, how much of dal went in, how much of salt went in. Okay, so a lot of science. I mean, but unfortunately, we've had our knowledge burnt because of the colonialists came down. They tried their best to make us lose our intelligence. But I mean, if you're looking at the amount of science, that chutney was actually originally medicine. Okay, so the more I start going here, the more I really wish I'd started this 20, 30 years ago. So,
very well said, sir. And you're talking about how you, over the past 10, 20 years in the kitchen, you've been pushing yourself. And I think in today's generation, for all of us to make our own mark, it is very necessary for us to say, break out of that box and, push ourselves to our limits and then beyond those limits. And, so when you have been in the kitchen, I'm sure you would have picked up a few leadership lessons here and there. And at I.I.M.U.N, we believe in making principled leaders, keeping Indian ethics at heart. And you being such a patriot and such a champion of Indian cuisine and Indian ethics, I want to understand what are a few leadership lessons that you would like to pass on to, say, budding culinary artists or budding future chefs.
one very important lesson I will definitely pass to all of you, I mean, if you get it, is brilliance is not necessarily a characteristic that's there in everybody. I'm not brilliant. I'm just extremely persistent. So I have a problem. When there is a problem, there's me versus the problem. I'm not able to multitask. I can't do too many things. I can't think. So there's a problem. There's me. The problem has to cease to exist, or I have to cease to exist. So when you start taking that kind of an approach and start looking at everything and start figuring out your solutions, one problem at a time, life becomes very simple. Okay, so I see a lot of your generation, what you tend to do is you have a tendency to overthink and take too many things onto yourself. Focus on one, finish, move on. It really helps. Okay, and this was learned in the kitchen because when you have a stove and the range burning, you have the fire going on, you're making a dish, you really can't think about the fourth dish as to what you do. You can't plan that far. You're seeing, you live in the moment, you live in the now, not in the past, not in the future. Live in the now and just do the now. So that's one thing that I can definitely say.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. And when you're talking about living right now, a lot of us students are living on instant noodles almost every night. So, what is one skill that we could imply at our home kitchens, because we don't have our parents around, most of us have moved out of our cities. So, if we have to say apply some skill that could help us also kickstart our culinary career without breaking our banks, what would that skill be according to you?
Stop looking at cooking and culinary as a very complex thing. It's something really simple. It's therapeutic. Okay. I have somebody saying that I should speak in Tamil. I'm wondering whether I need to speak in Tamil. Will everybody understand?
I think we have Tamil audience as well, so you could say a few lines.
Awesome. So I'm just going to say Vanakkam, okay, and get back to what we're talking about. So see, basically what has to be understood is if you're home, okay, and you had your mom cooking for you all the time, when's the time that you're going to get in the kitchen yourself and make a meal for your mom? It's actually pretty simple. I mean, you want to start off with a khichdi, start with rice, dal, put them both in the cooker, put a little bit of water, throw in a bunch of vegetables, throw some masala, throw some salt, pour water, shut the cooker a little, let it go for about 5-6 whistles, open it up, you got yourself a decent whiskey. If it doesn't taste good, you probably put too much of salt, too less salt, figure that out. Okay, the next time you're going to be better. So it's just by trial and error, you're going to get good at it. And you don't need to think so much about it. But what I'm trying to say is that once you start getting into the kitchen and cooking, you're taking baby steps towards life in general, because you are now start setting yourself up for a system where even if you make an error, you learn to adjust it and figure out what to do next to start moving on. So, quick question to you. You've been asking questions. What do you cook? What do you cook?
I have tried khichdi, but I messed it up badly because there was too much water in my khichdi. I've tried tea, but I don't think I'm that good of a cook. But yes, I mean, I think you have rightly pointed out that cooking for a lot of people, I know as well, is therapeutic, and all of us are looking forward to understand how to convert our passion into, we've watched MasterChef, we've watched these cooking shows all our lives, but when we look at it, it is very difficult. When you've spoken about all of it and you've made it look so easy, I think now we'll be happier and a little more confident to step into that field, or to take that one step, because the first step itself is very difficult. And I think a few things that I would personally take away, or the biggest takeaways for me, would be that you need to, first of all, follow your passion. You need to keep your focus straight, but you also need to keep experimenting. And one thing that all of us are afraid of is failures and being a disappointment. But when you rightly point out that it is okay to fail, because only then you learn how to do better, I think this gives me confidence, and also to the thousands of people who have joined us. So thank you so much for all of those insightful lessons that you've given us on culinary arts and leadership. I wanted to end this session on a lighter note with this quick rapid fire round that I have. I will give you a word or a sentence. You'll have to answer the first word or phrase that comes to your mind when you hear of these things. Are you ready?
Yes, please. I'm a no filter person, so this works for me.
Okay, let's start. Favorite dish to cook under pressure?
Anything. I mean, the more the pressure, the better the dish. So for me, the keyword here is pressure. I'm quite happy to cook just about anything.
Perfect. Would you rather make sweet food or spicy food?
Savory. I mean, I enjoy savory food more than sweet, but not that I can't make sweet. Both work.
Got it. Kitchen pet peeve?
Dirty kitchens. Dirty kitchens. When I walk into the kitchen's not clean, yes, I will blow my tongue. My boys know this. The chefs in my kitchen know that.
Understood. And dream celebrity dinner guest that you would want to prepare?
Yeah, this is something I've said quite often. The order is Batman, Rajnikant, Marco Pure White.
That is a crazy lineup. And
Okay,
one ingredient you can't live without?
One ingredient?
Yes.
As in to eat or to cook?
I think let's do both.
Okay, to eat, it's curd rice. I can't live without curd rice. I have to eat curd rice at least once a day. And to cook, I couldn't do without chilies. Even if it's a dessert, I need chilies. I'm a little bit of a chili head. I love chilies.
Oh, wow. Let's say, what is the craziest food trend that you've tried?
Fanta Maggie.
Fanta Maggie. Yeah, that has been all over Instagram for quite some time now. When I say youth, what comes to your mind, sir?
What you heard in the Hulk, if I have the energy of that body and what I've learned in the last so many years, I really could do a lot more. But unfortunately, what I see with youth constantly, probably even when I was youth, is that you don't have wisdom, but you have energy. So it's that process. Only when you get older and have gray hair and don't have the same energy, do you get the wisdom. So, yeah.
Wow. And when I say India, what comes to your mind?
Love.
And lastly, I.I.M.U.N. What comes to your mind when I say this?
Both my kids have been part of I.I.M.U.N. I've seen the way that it's shaped them, and I love what you people do.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. That means a lot to us and all the Gen Z people, all the youngsters who watch this. Thank you so much for supporting our passion and being a part of the Recipes for Success series. And we hope that we keep learning from you. Once again, thank you so much on behalf of everybody who's been watching this. Thank you.
Thank you. And Vanakkam again.